Okay, so thanks to everyone who stuck around with us to watch the Q&A. I'm Marianne Thodas, the programming manager of DOXA this year, and I'm joined by Ashley Sugimoto, who's also the programming coordinator. And we are both joined by Jonah Malak, the director of the film you all just watched. Jonah is a filmmaker whose work spans cultures and disciplines, often rooted in questions of belief, risk, and endurance. His acclaimed films, including Mystic Mass and Tuesdays at Catherine's and Dave Not Coming Back, have screened internationally, with Dave Not Coming Back winning the Audience Award at the Austin Film Festival, as well as a Canadian Cinema Editors Award and earning a Canadian Screen Award nomination for Best Editing. His most recent film, Spare My Bones, Coyote, which you just watched, just recently also played at Hot Docs and is a part of our Demonic Ground Spotlight and nominated for the Colin Lowe Award for Best Canadian Director. So thank you for joining us, Jonah.
Thank you. Thank you for screening the movie and having me for the Q&A.
We're very excited about it. So just with my first question here, the film, you've mentioned kind of in other documents that it spanned years of work and is obviously a very intense kind of emotional film. What first kind of drew you to this story and the people within it? And how did the film kind of come to be?
It was an obvious choice, actually. I read about the Aguilas in an article, in a newspaper's article. And within 2 lines, you kind of understand very quickly that this is an exceptional topic with exceptional participants. It didn't take much to see the scale of what is being done by them. So from what I remember, the 2 lines were something along the lines of Elia and Marisela. Every other weekend, they go in the desert with a bunch of volunteers to look up for the bodies of undocumented migrants who passed away while trying to cross. And this has impacted their lives drastically because they've been doing that for 12 years. And you're like, okay, wow, this is it. From 2 lines, we kind of see what might be the drama they are going through personally. We see the extent of the humanitarian tragedy that's going on the border. It doesn't necessarily go into any type of partisan politics. It's really a description of a status quo as it is standing now on the border. And I'm like, yeah, well, this is people would be asking, it's from the pitch of 2 lines, how can you stretch it to an hour and a half documentary? I'm like, it was never even a question. It jumped to me immediately that this is an important story that will take an hour and a half to be told. Like, no, not a single doubt about that. So I talked to my producer. I'm like, well, this is a very good friend of mine. Like we go long way, her and I. And I'm like, yeah, this is, I don't know if you have the same feeling as I have, but this could be our next feature. And she's like, yeah, it's an obvious choice, right? So I reached out to the Aguilas, most of them, but specifically to Elia and Marisela, and asking them if they would be interested to be part in a documentary. And they were like, yeah, sure, come by. I'm okay, I'm gonna come by. So from Montreal to San Diego, and I met with them, and they were just camera ready to start an interview. And I'm like, no, this is not what I am. I'm a documentarian. I'm not a journalist. So it's only a first meeting, and after that, I would like to walk with you in one of your missions and see how this works and plan a whole filming accordingly for a feature. They quickly realized the level of commitment and involvement that we will be willing to put into telling their stories, myself and the rest of the crew. And it helped build a trust relationship between us and them, also very quickly and very deeply. They opened all the doors for us. So not only the rescue missions, that they are conducting in the desert, but also to have access to their personal story and to their house and to their family, and being able to film at their place, as you have seen in the film. This is it takes time to build that kind of trust, and they were very open about it. They realized that it's not they realized, they know that this is a story that's worth being told. So
the one thing that I was really struck in my first time watching this film was these kind of slow moments that happen throughout, and the pacing of, we go through some of the most intensive scenes I've seen in a minute, of bodies being discovered and rescuing, and in the beginning, and then we move into them prepping food, and then we have more scenes like that about eating and gathering, as well as kind of them looking at their bird and having these kind of quieter moments of reflection. And I just kind of wanted to talk about that and hear what your reasoning and editing of putting those moments in amongst such intensive scenes.
Intensity of the scenes is the intensity of their lives. So if at some point hearing the phone ringing gets on your nerve as an audience, well, you just extrapolate that on a 30 to 40 call a day for the last 12 years on both Eli, Marisela, and the rest of their family, so their 4 daughters. It's triggering. You reach a point where every time the phone rings, you're like, okay, God, now what's going to happen now? What are we going to be listening to? Who are we going to be listening to? There is a sense of urgency from every phone call that comes in that gets on you as as a crew member, from day to day and from night to night and from every filming day. And for that, you only have to hang out with them long enough. Like, it doesn't take any preparation. It doesn't take any, you don't need to provoke that for it to happen. You don't need to set it up for your mise en scène. You just be there, and you're going to be filming phone call after phone call. And through their phone, we have a window to the rest of the world, at least to the rest of the border, and the sheer scale of the humanitarian tragedy that is happening on the border now. I'm of Lebanese descent. I grew up in Lebanon, and I've had my share of Lebanese civil war and Syrian civil war, and the flow of refugees in both ways, like people flowing in our country and people flowing out of our country for the last 50 years. It's an ongoing story there. It doesn't come close to what we witnessed on the U.S. Mexican border, neither in scale nor in tragedy nor in disaster-wise. And I did not suspect it to be that out of control, really. We hear a lot of stories in the news, but just to get a glimpse of what it is on a humanitarian level was, I did not expect that when I started the project, and it just kept unfolding, and the numbers kept growing up, and they never went down. From people keep building walls, but the numbers don't go down, they go up. What goes even faster with more walls is more death and more people dying on the border, because the terrain becomes more dangerous by the day, by the minute, by the infrastructure that is being built, etc. I thought I would be ready for that kind of topic to cover, and I wasn't.
Yeah, it just, even within that moment of when they're eating dinner and he just asks for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they're like, it's an emergency. You kind of get the sense that it's, for me, there was a sense of there is never a moment of quietness, I think, between them.
Extrapolate that to 12 years. So they've been doing that for 12 years, and non-stop, no holidays, no Sunday, no Saturday, no vacation, no traveling, no intimate moment with the family, with their daughters. It's non-stop, and it's not a regular kind of activism that we see, because activism does seldom have that exact sense of urgency. So I don't know, if we're talking about climate change, a phone call might be able to wait or be held for 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Or if you are into disaster management, it is punctual. It happens once a year, once every 2 years, and then you're waiting. Nothing is really happening. This is ongoing for 12 years, non-stop, and numbers keep going up with no end in sight. So we try to convey that sense in the pacing of the editing, to say, yeah, it is a slow edit because it's normal life, but supercharged, and then you release, and then supercharged, and then you release multiple times a day. But then when you release, you don't release to neutral. You release to just enough for you to be able to breathe and slow down your metabolism just enough to wait for the next phone call kicking in, next phone call kicking in. And we see there is no room to build up joy among them. It's always going to be short-circuited by a phone call, and then not being able to pick up a pace of, let's just chill. It just doesn't happen. And we try to convey that in the editing, to show it how it happens. So you have normal daily life, but it's constantly interrupted by very highly charged situations where you cannot let go after that.
I wanted to talk about a little bit also, because I'm sure for many people in the audience, the desert was a pretty big kind of visual cue within or visual character within the film. Just the vastness of it, and intensity and heat that you can kind of even see. Yeah, you kind of touched on this earlier, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about, see how it was to film and the intensity a bit more of what it was like to go on those walks and those missions.
Yeah, the desert. It's fascinating when we start talking about the experience of being in the desert, because it's everything at once with all its contradictions. So there is the sheer beauty of the place. It's beautiful to be in. It's beautiful to look at. It's beautiful to record sounds. No matter how you frame, you get amazing footage, especially with Nicolas' eye. Like the director of photography had an amazing eye and amazing talent, and I think he rendered the beauty of the desert quite well and with a lot of precision, from the very wide shots to top hill shots to close-ups on the saguaros, with all its symbolism also. The paradox is that the bigger it is, the more beautiful it is, but the more claustrophobic you become at once. The more beautiful it is, the more dangerous it is, because it means that you have to cross even longer distances. The more silent it is, the more dramatic it is, because you know that there is so much happening that you cannot be aware of in terms of the people who are left behind. You are filming now in the desert. You don't know who is there at this right moment. You don't know who's crossing. You don't know who's dying. You're going to get the information always delayed. If someone calls you or calls Eli to say, well, I'm stuck now, it's already too late. It means that the person had been stuck for a while before they reach out to Eli. So you're walking in the desert, and you might say, that it's full of dramatic situations as you are roaming in real time, and that kind of taints your experience of filming there. You never forget that it is just inhabited with for you it's inhabited with shadows, or even with phantoms, because you don't see the people, you don't hear the people, but you know that they are real, and they are there at this specific moment. filming and walking in the desert is a challenge in itself, because it means that you have to have all your equipment with you. So the camera, the lenses, this is heavy stuff. Like we're talking at least 15 pounds per person of equipment that you are having on your back. You have to double it with another 15 pounds of water, because this is what you need to walk for 6 or 7 hours. And we knew that once we start walking, we cannot cut short, head back, change battery, change cards, anything like that. You're on your own with your equipment until the whole team is back to the original location. I had first time I went into the desert, I was caught off guard by how quickly it impacts your body. And this, Eli does a good job describing it in the movie. You're walking, everything's going fine. I was walking with my 24 pounds of, backpack. And then, boom, a heartbeat, but it's painful heartbeat. Everything was going fine. Breathing is going fine, drinking water, walking slowly, but then the heart starts pounding. And you don't know why. I've never had that before. Like it's the pain. And like, well, this is how people die. This is how people die. Now as a team, the Aguilas knew how to take care of any kind of situation that resembled mine. So they took care of me, the whole 9 yards. But you say, well, if this happened in me walking for 1 hour close to the highway, what happens to people who have been walking there, holding on their back all their lives, right? We found bed sheets. We found kids' toys, amounts and amounts of them. So you kind of guess that these people were holding them on their back, and at some point had to let loose the extra weight they had with them because they just could not keep on carrying that. I don't want to compare my situation to any migrant going through this odyssey, but it just helps me get a glimpse of what it is. And it's enough information to be able to say, okay, this is how clearly we need to convey to the audience, to say, well, looking at a map doesn't even get you close to visualize the strain on the body that you're going to be having once you start doing this walk.
I think that for me, that answers most of my questions. But I wanted to thank you for your time, for the Q&A, and thanks for sharing your film.
Well, thank you for sharing the film with your audience and giving the opportunity for the story to be seen and told and at least seen by the biggest number of people possible, because it is a global story. So we just took the example. It's not took the example. We filmed in a specific location with specific people, but these stories have been happening all around the globe for a very long time. As I said, as a Lebanese, I've seen that just change the names of the locations and of the people, and you have exactly similar stories in terms of tragedies, in terms of crossing, in terms of urgency between land borders, but also in the Mediterranean Sea. This is the story of the world, nearly in every country, happening now all over the globe. So for you to share it with your audience I think is a great opportunity for this to be told in a different angle than what we traditionally see in the media in some heated political moments.
Thanks for sharing it, and thanks for letting our audiences get to see it.
Thank you. Thank you, and hi to everyone who's watching me. I'm sorry I couldn't be there for the Q&A, but at least we can get to meet virtually like this.